皆さんこんにちは。ロックブラッドのお時間です。今回もよろしくお願いします。さて、今回は前々回から続く悪名高い凄腕ギタリストヴィニー・ヴィンセントの深掘り、いよいよ完結編です。彼が大御所バンドキッスに加入し名声を得てから脱退、そして行くところバンドメンバーから愛想をつかされて孤立していく様子は過去2回のロックブラッドをぜひご覧いただきたいんですが、今回は彼が孤立してしまうに至った経緯について、それをよく知る2名のミュージシャンのインタビューの抜粋を交えてあらわにしたいと思います。ヴィニー・ヴィンセントは1991年に Guitars from Hell というソロアルバムを出したのを最後に音楽業界から完全にその姿を消します。彼のファンの間では彼の安否を心配する声も聞こえていましたが、その間何が起こっていたのか、彼のプライベートに起きた事件や問題も含めてちょっと見ていきましょう。彼は2度の結婚を経験しています。70年代には最初の奥さんアンマリー・ピーターズさんと結婚していますが、双子の娘を設けた後、98年にはですね、そのアンマリー・ピーターズさんが殺害されてしまってるんですよね。ヴィニー・ヴィンセント本人はですね、この悲惨な事件が起きた頃にはすでに離婚をして、96年には他の女性と結婚していたんですけど、これに起因してヴィニー・ヴィンセントの精神状態はそれまで以上におかしな方向に歪んでいってしまったと言います。ちなみに2度目の結婚は1996年だったようです。お相手はダイアン・キロという女性で、これも何の因果なのか、キスの初代ギタリストエース・フレイリーの元カノなんですよね、この人。ヴィニー・ヴィンセントは2011年、このダイアン・キロに対する DV の容疑で逮捕されています。殴る蹴るの暴行に加え、当時の警察の発表によれば、彼女の髪を持って割れたガラスの上を引きずるなんていう、ちょっとひどいですね、奇行に走っていたっていうんですよね。さらにこの DV 騒動で警察が現場検証を行った際に、とんでもないものも見つかってるんですよ。このあたり、まずはアレックス・マイケルのインタビューで確認してみましょう。
Problem with Vinnie Vincent, who's now a woman, like pretty close to that.
Has that been verified?
He definitely looks like a grandmother. He wears the grandmother shoes, pants, and like the grandmother vest, and of course like his wig. He looks like an old woman. He did an appearance in Nashville where he was also running around in like a woman's suit and like a handbag.
Okay, so I don't really know all the story. Carmine said in the interview that he had a wife that was a call girl or something, and then she got murdered. Is it that one?
No, here comes the crazy part. Like, two of his women are dead. His first wife that he had, like, I guess in the late 70s or something, they had twins. And then at one point she got killed.
What the fuck?
And then the second wife, which, I mean, this is actually interesting because, like, I don't want to say anything bad about somebody, but first she used to date Ace. And then when he dumped her, she went straight to Vinnie Vincent. And then he married her. And she was the one that he beat up, and then she died like a year or something afterwards.
He beat up?
Yeah, remember the story when he got arrested and they found like those dead dogs and like
right.
some Tupperware
I do,
boxes.
Yeah. I forgot about I didn't realize it was domestic abuse. Somehow I just thought it was about all the dead dogs being buried in the back. And so I had forgotten that detail of it. So it was the initial call and him getting arrested was because he had beat her?
Yeah, he, from what I remember, he beat her up and like he was like throwing her like through glass and stuff like that, and that's how the cops found those dead dogs.
彼はこれをきっかけに全く表に出なくなったんですが、その後もかつてのバンドメンバーを巻き込んだ訴訟や法的トラブルだけは記事や報道で世間を騒がせていました。ヴィニー・ヴィンセントは精神的にも、そして経済的にも追い込まれて、音楽業界への復帰が不可能なのは誰が見ても明らかになりました。ところが、 長年行方知れずになっていたヴィニー・ヴィンセントはステージへの復帰を発表し、ファンを驚かせたんですよ。アトランタで開催のキッスエキスポ。これ、キッスの、ファンの集いみたいなやつですかね。このキッスエキスポで20年以上ぶりのライブパフォーマンスを披露したんです。で、このイベントは大きな話題を呼んで、ヴィニー・ヴィンセントファンが大勢集まったそうなんですよね。でも、ここでもまた、彼は問題をいくつも起こし始めます。このアトランタのショーを皮切りに、キッスエキスポは海外にも展開していくんですが、その道中、詐欺まがいのビジネスを思いついたり、人のクレジットカードを使い込んだりと、まあ、やりたい放題だったそうで、アレックス・マイケルに言わせれば、史上最悪のクズ野郎というレッテルを貼られてしまいます。
Vinnie in general is like pretty much like the worst person I ever dealt with. Like the way he was like stealing from people and ripping people off and stuff like that. It's like beyond anything you can even imagine. And like now when you listen to like Mark Slaughter, any of those guys, and they just tell the same thing. And I traveled with the guy for like 5 weeks until we just left him stranded in a hotel because he would use the main promoter's credit card. And he got a bill together, I think, for something like $1,500 for room service and whatever shit in one day. We just left him there because we were like, oh, we don't want to have you around anymore. So we just left him there. And like, I don't even know how he paid his bill.
So, well, just for a little bit of context, you brought conventions over to Europe, some of the KISS conventions?
Yes.
Okay. And so how does that all go down with you getting Vinnie over there?
He first did a convention in Atlanta, and then he flew straight from there to Sweden, where the tour started. And he got paranoid, like, because during the Q&A, there was already back then, there was the rumor that he wants to get a sex change. Somebody from the audience asked him, so when are you going to have your removed?
And were you in Atlanta, or did you just arrange all that? Oh, you were?
I was also in Atlanta with him, and yeah, at that point he was still normal, but like then once he was over in Europe, and at that point he was also with that woman that later became his wife. He was getting so paranoid. All of a sudden he said like, well, I need protection. I need security guards with machine guns and stuff like that.
From
like,
fans? Protection from fans?
Yeah, exactly. Because he was like, what happens if some crazy Ace fan wants to kill me? I need security with machine guns, at least like 4 guys. I swear to God, like we had one show in Hamburg, Germany, and there was the venue, and on top of the actual ballroom, there was another venue. And the meet and greets with Vinnie would be in that room. And it was like a massive room that probably holds like 400 people. And he would sit in the furthest corner of that room, and fans would have to walk through that whole fucking thing to get the autograph. And he would be like, well, you need to buy another CD, because at that point he had this 5-song Speedball or whatever the name was EP out that he tried to sell for like $50 for a 6-song EP. And then of course barely anyone would buy that, but like if you wanted to have an autograph, he said, well, you have to buy one of my CDs. If you want 2 autographs, you have to buy a second CD. He took the promoter's credit card and faked his name on some invoices and stuff and restaurant bills and whatever. And then like in the end, we just left him in Hamburg, and we have no idea how he even got back home.
With these things, and I apologize for my ignorance, but when you're doing a KISS convention, is it like you've guaranteed Vinnie Vincent money and then the autographs are additional to him, or is it just...
Yes.
Okay. How does that work?
We always would pay like for his flight and a flat fee that I think at that point it was something like $1,500 per show, and which was like, you know, was good business for everyone. But like then he would just charge those insane prices for stuff, and then like barely anyone would buy them. And I still remember like his phone calls, because at one point he would call me like 5 times a day. Alex, I have this great idea. How about if we make a limited edition of that CD of 20,000 copies, and then we sell them? And I was like, where do you want to sell 20,000 CDs. You know, I mean, like even in the late or mid 90s, there was no chance he would sell like 20,000 copies of a CD. But he was just so delusional about this. Yeah, but I played in Rio for like 140,000 people and here and this and that. And I was like, yeah, but that still doesn't mean you will sell that many records, especially not of a 5-song CD that pretty much... God, I don't even know what was on there. But like anyway, like nobody would buy, you know, expensive shit, and especially not 20,000 copies. I guess he was thinking, well, if I sell like 20,000 CDs by, you know, $50, that's like $1 million.
When he gets over there and he's getting $1,500 per show, how many shows is he doing?
Originally he was supposed to do something like 12 or 16 shows, but then like, I think like after 9 shows, we just kicked him off the tour.
Was that like money guaranteed that he gets up front or half up front or something?
He got half of it up front, and then the rest, obviously, he never got paid.
And I'm assuming even nowadays, he probably even banks even more that,
wow.
Or does he not?
No, he definitely, I mean, like, think about, like, he, you know, people show me this stuff, like, he does those weird events in Nashville. And from what I remember, I think people pay something ridiculous, like $500 to go there for an afternoon with him. But there's only like a limited amount of people that can go there. And like the event is always happening in some rehearsal space. So like think about that. Like if he has like 50 people and each one pays $500, that's 25 grand minus his expenses for renting the place, which is per like $200 or something. So he still goes home with like over $23,000, $24,000. Plus then he sells the like an autograph for like $80 or $100. And if you have like 50 crazy Kiss fans there, each one of them has like 5 items to sign.
The $500 doesn't cover the autographs?
No, that's just like to see him in his...
just to get to witness him in all his glory is the 500. And then...
Exactly.
And then what, he talks or does he play guitar or does he do anything?
I heard from some people, because like there's no video or anything allowed there, and like I heard like some people said like he was playing acoustic guitar there, because remember like he tried to do some shows with Robert Fleischman and Carmen, and then like the whole thing obviously fell apart before it even happened.
Right. I think that's what Carmine was talking about, was that where he got... he took the money and I guess got paid half up front and then didn't do the gig.
Yeah, and he did that like, I think like 2 or 3 times actually.
And so that's why he's doing his own thing now.
Yeah, because like he just talks to people, and maybe if he plays like some acoustic stuff or whatever. And to be honest, I don't even think he's able still to play, because there was an event in Florida. It was like a, you know, because Kiss always has this, the Kiss cruise. And the night before, they had this event in a venue in Miami. And he was jamming with some guys from Frehley's Comet. And he only played rhythm guitar. And the way he was playing it, it was like, I swear to God, like it seemed like he had a guitar in his hand the first time. As you know, like Lick It Up, the rhythm section, that as simple as it can get. And he barely made it through that song. It was pretty much like, yeah, somebody just got a guitar and somebody showed him, oh, put your finger here and put it there and don't do anything else. And that's how he looked like. So I doubt he would even be able to pull off like a real show where he would have to play guitar solos and whatsoever.
He played no solos at all?
No, nothing. He just played rhythm, and they had some, I don't even remember who the guitar player was, but like they had some other guy from... what is the name of that? I don't remember. But like some guys from Frehley's Comet, and like those guys were pretty much like doing all the playing, and he was just like playing along. And that was already in 96 the case, because like he told us he had some damage to his finger, and that's why he couldn't play any guitar solos. So he would only play rhythm guitar. Pretty much the last time he actually played a guitar solo where people saw him playing it was like in 88 or something, before the Invasion band broke up.
Are there any like funny stories or anything from your time that you spent with him? Any standout moments?
The most stand-up moment was still like when his wig moved. because we were on a tour bus, and at one point he fell asleep while sitting in his chair. And like his wig started to move. And it was just like, so, and then he woke up, and then like his wife looked at him and was like, Vinny. And of course she couldn't say, because there was like another like 15 people on the bus, Vinny, you got to check your wig. She whispered it into his ear, and he ran down to the toilet to fix his wig. And then afterwards, he was like, I can't drive in that bus. Like, I need my own driver and like a separate car and everything. So I guess he was scared, like, what happens if I fall asleep again and my wig falls off?
The wig like turned sideways or something while he was sleeping?
Yeah. Yeah. It was like almost like I forgot, there was a movie where that happened to somebody, you know, with a wig. You can tell like it's a wig because like it's all of a sudden like it's in a different position.
Was there a final moment where it was like, that's it, and now we're leaving? Was there something that happened, or was it just...
Yeah, we did 2 shows in Hamburg. And then afterwards he went back to the hotel, and none of the hotels were good enough for him. Like he wanted to get to the whatever fancy hotel was. And what we didn't know at that point was like that he would get this insane room service bill together for like whatever kind of foods. I mean, you have to think about like it was like in dollars at that point. It was about like $1,000 in room service
for one night.
Yes.
What the hell?
It was like all kinds of food, and then like he asked the hotel to ship some stuff for him, and then a couple of phone calls, and yeah, it was over $1,000 US dollars.
That's in addition to, I mean, he gets his flight and then his half upfront fee, but then you're paying for all the hotels and everything and all his meals?
Well, for regular meals, yeah, but like
he gets a per diem per day or something?
Exactly, but like we said, well, nobody's paying your bill. That goes out of your pocket. And he was like, well, if you don't pay the bill, I'm not coming to the next shows. And we were like, okay, goodbye. And then we just left him there.
That was the moment where you left him.
Yeah. We just put a sign on the door, like, you know, like this convention is without a special guest. We didn't have a single person that said like, oh, Vinny is not coming, so I'm not going. Yeah, and then we just left him there.
ヴィニー・ヴィンセントのこのいい加減さとか、お金にだらしないところとか、約束を守らないどうしようもないクズっぷりは昔からだったみたいで、ベック・ボカート&アピス、BBA ですね。それからキング・コブラとか、それからオジー・オズボーンとか、ジョン・サイクスのブルーマーダーなどで活躍したドラマーのカーマイン・アピスもヴィニー・ヴィンセントのクズっぷりをぶっちゃけてます。
He was Vinnie Casano.
Right, before he was in Kiss.
Yeah, he played with me and Carmine in the Rockers.
What was he like?
An asshole. Matter of fact, the Kiss guys called me and said, what's he like to work with? I said, dude, he's a troublemaker. They said, yeah, really? I said, he's a great talent, but he's a troublemaker. And then even recently, a year ago, I was supposed to play with him. And he screwed the promoter, screwed the gig, screwed everything.
Yeah, he's got a weird consistency with kind of doing things. I know I've seen even people commenting like, oh, right, he's going to be there where he takes their money or something. And
then doesn't show up. So we did with this promoter. This guy, Derek Christopher, great guy. He called me and said, look, I'm going to do this band with Vinnie Vincent, and Vinnie mentioned he'd like to do it with you. A few gigs. I said, yeah, that's cool. And I hadn't talked to Vinnie in years. And then I called him, I talked to him for 2 hours. And we got along great. He even thanked me for, before the Vinnie Vincent invasion. I didn't know it, but because, he was connected with me with my manager, me and my brother had a drum company we were running. Peace Brothers Drum Rentals in LA. And he said, thank you for the drum set you let me for like a month. I said, I did? I said, I didn't know I rented it to you. He said, who'd you get? He goes, from Alan. I go, well, Alan did it for you, not me. And since then, Alan passed away anyway. So we talked about it. I said, well, that's great. I'm glad you got use out of it. And I'm glad you're healthy and you're all right. And I'm sorry about your wife. His wife passed away. I said, I'm sorry about Anne Marie. I really liked her. But apparently people told me that he was living off of her. She had become like a hooker in Nashville or something,
Holy shit.
But I didn't know that till afterwards. And then we had a great talk, and then Derek paid me, and I said, what about if I get Tony Franklin to play bass? He said, that'd be great. So I got Tony in it. And Derek paid us both a deposit. And he paid Vinny a bunch of money. And then Vinny blew the gig out. So I offered to give him the money back. He said, no, you put your time aside, you did PR for it and everything, you keep it. I said, what about Vinnie? He says, he's just ripped me off. This guy's a nice guy. I became more involved with him because I'm starting to get into some rock history talking speeches about rock history and also life lessons that I've learned. And this guy was a speaker booker. I did like a couple of things with him speaking. And then he got really sick, and then COVID happened, and I've been a little out of touch. But we just hooked up. He just booked me and my girlfriend, who's a radio talk show host in New York for a long time. She's doing speaking on different things. So he hired both of us to do his storytelling speaking engagement in New York in March. And he's going to be like my mediator. We're going to do a rock history one, talk about my history and all that.
I mean, it's
amazing. But he ripped him off, and he's such a nice guy.
He was doing something on his website where he was selling some kind of autograph package and charging like almost $10,000 for it.
Ridiculous. There are suckers that are doing this. We just went to the Rock and Pod thing. One of the guys that was I don't know who he played with, come down wearing a Vinnie Vincent shirt. I walked in at breakfast. I go, are you kidding me with that shirt? What'd you pay, $500 for that shirt? He said, no, that's what he wanted on his website. I bought it on some rip-off place for $10. But he said he's selling lick-it-up CDs that he'll sign for $500. But unbelievably, the guy that promoted Rockin' Pod hired him to do that Kiss Cruise thing before. He paid him a fortune. But he sold enough meet and greets and whatever it was he was doing to pay for it. And it was a considerable amount of money. I couldn't believe he sold so many things to pay for it. I said, these people are Vinnie Vincent crazy fans. I mean, it comes from that Kiss, the Kiss thing. But, I know Bruce Kulick don't make that kind of money with Kiss. I don't know why Vinnie Vincent does.
It's probably because, and the fact that he's a recluse probably in some ways helps him to his advantage or something. But
he was not around for 25 years.
Exactly.
I said to him, why don't we release this Carmen and the Rockers recordings? Randy Johns engineered them. They sound great.
When were those done?
1979, 1980. They're really good stuff. So between all of us, we had 4-part harmony. Vinnie sang some leads. I sang leads.
And that was a full working band?
Yeah. We played gigs all up and down the West Coast.
And you got a deal?
We had a deal, and then Vinnie blew it.
How so?
Well, we agreed that we were all writing a song. Vinnie came in with a couple of songs that were finished, but the other songs were, written together. And so we said, look, let's just split everything down the middle, 4-way split. I said, I'll split 4-way with the band, even though you're unknown, Vinnie, and these guys are unknown. I'll split 4-way with the band, and that'll be the deal. When we started getting close to a record deal, he said, I don't want to split my writing. Well, you agreed to it. You signed the deal with us. He said, I don't care. I don't want to split my writing. I'm not doing it. If I don't get my writing, I'm not doing the deal. So I said, well, fuck you.
That was the end of the band?
Yeah, then I went on and did a solo album instead on Pasha. I did one of the songs that we did called Hollywood Heartbeat. And I wrote the verse and Vinnie wrote the chorus.
リアルなステージを受けてくれるプロモーターもいなくなったヴィニーは、オンラインでファンとの交流を始めます。近況を共有したり、新曲をほのめかしたりもしてたみたいで、2019年にはフルバンドのパフォーマンスとキッス時代の名曲やヴィニー・ヴィンセント・インベージョンの楽曲を入れたセットリストを約束し、Vinnie's Merry Metal Christmas というクリスマスショーも企画したりしたそうなんですけど、これらのショーは最終的には中止となり、ファンは再び失望を味わうことになりました。才能、野心、裁判沙汰、そして孤独に彩られたヴィニー・ヴィンセントの音楽人生。彼の突飛な行動や物議を醸す選択は多くのバンド仲間を遠ざけたわけですが、それでもヴィニー・ヴィンセントのギターは今も様々な媒体に残されていて、彼を信仰するファンの間では、彼はキス出身のロックスターだと未だに根強い人気を誇っているのもまた事実です。 ロックブラッド、ここまで3回にわたって何とも形容しがたい史上最速にして最悪のヒールギタリスト、ヴィニー・ヴィンセントについて僕が掘り下げられる限りを尽くしてみましたが、いかがだったでしょうか。今回も最後までご覧いただきましてありがとうございます。今後もですね、ギタリストに限らず、変わり種のミュージシャンで僕が知ってる人がいればですね、その深掘りなんかもしてみたいなと思っておりますが、ご要望があればですね、僕がわかる限り、僕が全く知らないミュージシャンだとちょっと困っちゃうんですけど、深掘りをしてみたいと思いますんで、ご意見をお寄せいただけるとありがたいです。それでは、また次回もお楽しみに。